Okay, so now we're standing in front of a display case with the holy grails of Star Wars action figure collecting.
Among them, yes, the top three perhaps. So we have both versions of the rocket-firing Boba Fett, which were never released to the public because of product safety issues, the size of the missile and the possibility that they would choke some kid. So this was the first version with the four-sided missile, the firing mechanism, then they tried a locking mechanism, it still didn't work, and so we all got a sorry note along with our mail-away Boba Fett with a sonic welded missile inside and no firing mechanism. And down here we have the mint on the card vinyl cape Jawa, which looked sort of uglier than the cloth cape Jawa, but this was the original one. It was withdrawn from circulation, and the cloth cape one came out because they thought they would sell more because these things weren't selling because they were half the size of the other figures.
How long have you had that one? Because the vinyl cape Jawa mint on card is next to impossible to find.
Well, you know, I almost turned down buying that because the guy wanted to charge me $45 for it. And I thought, that's ridiculous. And I walked out of the store and put my key in the lock of my car and said, well, it's about the last cash I have on me. Didn't take credit card. What the heck? I may not find that quickly again. And I went back in and I bought it.
That was a good second guess.
Now you could put about 2 zeros on the end of that. So.
And then over here we have the double telescoping Luke Skywalker.
The double so Luke, Vader, and Obi-Wan were all supposed to have little tips of the lightsaber that came out. So that very thin tip would come out even further and go back in, so it would double telescope out of the arm. And more of the Lukes were made than any other, and the very earliest early bird kits contained the double telescoping Luke. Very few of the Vaders were sent out, and almost none of the Obi-Wans. There may be 4 or 5 in existence, but it's a very, very rare toy.
Is there anything that, if you got a call in the middle of the night and said, hey, I need to sell this item, do you want it before I put it up on eBay or on an auction site? Is there one particular Star Wars item that you would absolutely do your best to get?
Yeah, you know, there's something that I had to pass on many, many years ago because I just couldn't afford it. And it was the original Death Star, the original Death Star model. And somehow it ended up abandoned in a warehouse in North Hollywood. It then ended up in the Midwest at a flea market. It then ended up in a bar, but these kids
had
a bar as sort of a disco ball. And these kids, and people thought it wasn't real, but these kids sort of knew it was real, and they hounded the people at the flea market until they found out what bar it was at. They went to the bar and they said, if you ever decide to sell, we're interested. And then they were trying to sell it back either to Lucasfilm or to a collector, and they contacted me and some other friends, and I just couldn't afford what they wanted. It wasn't outrageous for what it was, but if I got a call from my friend Gus Lopez, who owns the Death Star right now, and said I would sell it for the original price, I'd hop on a plane to his home.
The odds of that happening are probably not good.
-0. -0.
Steve, we're barely halfway through this place, and there's still so much great stuff to see, including that, which just so happens to be a Bantha and a Tusken Raider.
So this was built for something called a Red Wagon Parade, and actually it is built on a red wagon. Here's the handle. And it was built by members of the 501st Imperial Legion for a children's charity hospital. And the deal is that you raise $500 just to enter the parade, and everybody has floats. Most of the floats are pretty little girls in their dresses and parasols and things like that. Leave it to the 501st to build a Bantha with all of this fur on it, chicken wire underneath, and the Tusken Raider.
Authentic Bantha fur.
Authentic Bantha fur, and the Tusken Raider is reading The Little Lost Bantha Cub.
There's a little bit of history up above here behind me, right?
Yeah, Star Wars. So those are the original marquee letters from the Loew's Orpheum Theater in New York City on opening day, May 25th, 1977. And when they came down, they went to a friend of the manager. Manager put them on his son's bedroom wall. Years later, his son went off to college, and then he put a very small ad in an obscure toy magazine I subscribed to. I gave him a call. I was the first one to call, and was convinced they were real, and I did the deal. And I had them at my house down in LA, no place at all to put them up. And when we were putting this room together, that space sort of called to me, and I said, I wonder if, and they fit perfectly.
Perfectly. I mean, you couldn't have designed it any better.
Yeah.